Hello and welcome to Hot Market Cold Brew, the overly caffeinated real estate podcast that's always on the grind. I'm your host, Dominic Janitis, and I have an amazing show for you today. You will not want to miss it. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Hot Market Cold Brew, the overly caffeinated real estate podcast that's always on the grind. I'm your host, Dominic Janitis, and I cannot thank you enough, as always, for choosing to spend your time with me today. I have got a very exciting special guest in studio today, and he is, just like a couple of my other guests, absolute badass when it comes to his industry and his niche. So super excited to introduce Mark Hauser to you. He is an award-winning journalist, frequent public speaker. He's appeared on outlets like CNN, Fox, NPR, and even given a TED Talk. He is an antique skyscraper expert and a published author, which we're going to talk about a couple of his books. So we're super excited about that as well. And he has had over 2,000 people take his antique skyscraper tour in Pittsburgh. So excited to introduce to you Mark Hauser. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dominic.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
On Hot Markets.
That's it. We're a little hot market. I got my little cold brew here, so we're ready to go. Mark, as I gave you kind of the premise of the show when we were chatting about bringing you on, I always like to start off by asking, what are you drinking? How do you like your coffee? Let's start there.
Okay, well, at the risk of counter programming your show, I generally don't drink cold coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I do sometimes,
okay.
Especially if it's left over.
I won't.
But I'm a hot coffee guy. But I start. It's a shot in a beer town, Pittsburgh.
Oh, sure is.
So I'm a shot in a coffee guy. So I start with the espresso.
Mm-hmm.
That's straight up. Then after the espresso, I get into the coffee,
Okay.
and I can either do a latte or something. I make a little Bialetti on the stovetop. So whatever's the first bit is the espresso, and then after that is for the cappuccino, basically.
I love it.
And so that's
the deal.
yeah. And when I have coffee, I like it to match my jacket. So cream and sugar.
You did say that when we were off camera. I loved it. I've actually witnessed it firsthand because I did get to see some pictures that you had sent. You had texted me some pictures of the coffee that he was drinking not too long ago when we were getting ready to do this. So it's definitely more swanky than what I do. I love espresso. I love hot coffee, but I'm usually just a straight black iced coffee, no sweetener.
It's a bold move.
It's a oh, look at you, wordplay, bold move indeed. So I will go into. I've got a lot to talk about with you, and you have 2 fantastic books out right now. But I will say, as I was reading your latest book, the coffee table book that he has, called. Let me bring it out here.
See that coffee table book?
Coffee table. See,
it's almost like I wrote it for the podcast.
See, I love that. So we have got, let me see if it's even in camera here, high rises, Art Deco. There are 100 buildings in here. We're going to talk more about this. But what I thought was interesting was when I was going through this, I came across a St. Paul, Minnesota, the First National Bank Tower. I think it is. First National Bank building. And let me see if I can get my Post-it out of here. It's the magic of podcasting.
That's a deep cut.
It is a deep cut. It's a beautiful building. But when figuring out what coffee to have today, I actually kind of did a fun little spin. I normally highlight Pittsburgh coffee shops, but I actually went to school with one of my friends. She became a friend of mine through my best friend Jessica. We all went to Duquesne University together. But Ophelia was a college friend, and she actually moved to St. Paul, and she is a lawyer now, and her husband is also a lawyer, and they actually opened a coffee shop in St. Paul. And I brought it today, and that's what we're drinking today. So a little plug for Ophelia. I don't know if we can see it here, but it's fantastic. It's called Abogados Cafe, which means lawyers. They're 2 lawyers, and it's a wife and husband team, Ophelia and Inti, and they are bringing you Abogados Cafe. And they're both native to Honduras, and they have a passion for coffee and law, and they want to bring that Latin American coffee experience home to you. They've got a cute little coffee shop in St. Paul. So if you are in the St. Paul market or visiting anytime soon, be sure to check them out. We have the Mexico blend here. It's so good. And they have their law office upstairs. So really excited to be a little shout out to Ophi. Cheers. Around the mic.
Cheers. Very
The
good.
coffee is so good. Please be sure to check them out. There you have it. So that's what we're drinking today. The basic premise of the podcast, as all of you know, is the best conversations about real estate or real estate related things I've always had have always been over coffee with friends. And I always start after the coffee conversation, I always start in asking, what do you think a hot market means to you? Like, what does that mean to you?
That's a great starter question.
Oh, yeah,
And for me, I mean, given my field,
yes.
which is talking about, writing about, and researching antique skyscrapers, I think Pittsburgh right now is a hot market in residential conversion of its historic and landmark and antique skyscrapers. And so, I mean, if you think about the big project right now is Gulf Tower.
Oh, yeah.
Which Rugby Realty, great, they own some of Pittsburgh's nicest antique skyscrapers. So they, along with Left Lane in New York, are doing Gulf Tower into the Bardo Hotel / apartments. So that's a pretty exciting conversion. But I've worked with a New York developer, Victrix, that just took what we thought of as GNC's headquarters, but started out as a luxury department store in 1904.
Oh, wow.
And is now Livewell. So that's apartments on Wood Street. And beyond that, I mean, I just on my tours, I was so happy to have you join me this past weekend.
We'll talk all about that too. I'm so excited.
But I met the owner of another building on Grant Street that is in the midst of, or he intends to convert it also, the classic, a 1950s skyscraper into residential as well. So that's happening so much in Pittsburgh. I know office is a whole other question.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a hot market for residential.
Sure is. We love it. And we're seeing a lot of really unique changes happening in the city based on what Mark is talking about with these conversions. So,
and these old buildings.
And it's old buildings, right?
Which is my favorite, right?
Yeah.
The antique skyscrapers where we have such a wonderful collection of them. So that's what I've been focusing for the last 10 plus years on is talking about our antique skyscrapers and the people who built them.
Yeah.
Basically our architectural legacy here in Pittsburgh.
I love it.
Unparalleled.
Unparalleled, so true, and a fabulous segue to actually your first book that it had to have been 2020 or 2021 when Multi-Stories came out, and I'm still getting used to cameras, guys, so I apologize. But this is a fantastic. One of the reasons I love this is I like to read, and I enjoy. I'm not like a huge history person, but when it comes to real estate, obviously you've got me hooked. But what I loved about this book not only was the amazing stories and how fun and interesting all of the stories are, but they're quick. You know, you've got a couple of pages on each. There's 55 antique skyscrapers, backgrounds on the tycoons, the business tycoons who built them. It's called Multi-Stories, available Amazon, right? Amazon, or on Mark's website. But this is so fun. And so getting this book back in the pandemic, this was like my pandemic read. It was so great. And then I realized, he does guided tours of some of the buildings that he talks about in this book. Now, it's not just Pittsburgh. This is from across the country that he talks about, but it was so cool. So we ended up going to his tour back in 2020 or 2020. I really can't remember it. That was all a blur, obviously. But it was fascinating because you got to see, you kind of like peeked behind the steel curtain, if you will, of some of the stories and the background on what happened and more so than you would even get out of the book, because we really spend, it's like a solid 2 hours walking through some of the most iconic and beautiful buildings in Pittsburgh. So Mark, tell me a little bit about Multi-Stories and just a little bit about where the idea came from and how you kind of came to be with that.
Sure. I'm so glad that you have pleasant memories of the tour. We've had more than 2,000 people now come on these tours. Here
It's
in Pittsburgh.
crazy.
And so how that all started is I was a newspaper reporter at the Trib here in town for 15 years. And then I left the paper in 2008, started working for Robert Morris University in marketing and PR. And so I didn't have a byline for a long time. And I missed writing stuff
Mhm.
for publication. I was doing the alumni magazine and so forth. But I wanted to write again. And so the first story I wrote as a freelance journalist was about Pittsburgh's great skyscrapers built by the Chicago architect Daniel Burnham. And it just seemed like an interesting story. The fact is that Pittsburgh has more skyscrapers by this famous Chicago architect who designed the Flatiron Building in New York City on
Right.
Broadway. So we have more than any other city outside of Chicago. And that is some kind of testament to how wealthy and powerful
Absolutely.
our millionaires were. We were
Absolutely.
hiring the best architects. So I wrote a story about those buildings, and that turned into a monthly column that I called Multi-Stories. It was the stories of the people that commissioned the buildings. A lot of architecture writing, a lot of writing about buildings is about the buildings themselves.
Sure.
And that's interesting for certain, but there's a limit to how much you want to read.
Yep.
I've always found, and when I was working at the newspaper, business people have interesting personal stories too,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they kind of contribute to your understanding of how a city developed.
Yep.
So these skyscrapers that arose in every city across America at the end of the 1800s and the start of the 1900s, the very first skyscrapers, I mean, they still stand today, and they're these personal statements of ambition and also legacy.
Rivalry too, actually.
Yes.
That is one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, people can make the connection that who's got the tallest skyscraper has like a little bit of a subtext.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
But here in Pittsburgh, we have probably one of the best stories of
Mhm.
that rivalry, which is the Frick Building, which Henry Clay Frick built literally to block the sun from Carnegie's skyscraper, which had gone up 10 years before.
Yep. It's so fun, and it's so interesting to learn that. Again, you do such a great job in the book, and it going on the tour is even better. Over 2,000 people. I was just there, last weekend, right? Doing a tour, and you have another set coming up in July. What, the 9th,
That's right.
the 18th and 19th, or
That's right.
18th and 19th?
Picklesburg weekend.
Picklesburg weekend. Mark your calendars.
So you'll be able to we go on top of skyscrapers in our
Yes.
tours.
Yep.
We don't just walk into the lobby, we go on top of each one of them. So
Mhm.
we go on top of 4, and we'll be able to look down on the bridge where Picklesburg is happening.
I love it. And we will, once I figure out the magic of editing, or maybe Studio Me helps me along with that. I took some great pictures of the skyscraper tour this past weekend, and just so amazing and so fun. And the views, what I really loved about that was so my favorite was the Coppers Building, and you feel like you are actually in the Pittsburgh skyline. Like, you're not just looking at it, but you're like, oh, these iconic buildings that I see from, Mount Washington or whatever, or driving into the city, like, you are right there. And when you're on the rooftop of the Coppers Building and you look up, there's the golf building, and you feel like you can almost reach out and touch it. And you are like in the mix of it, and you have all of these amazing buildings around you. And so yeah, the lobbies are great and beautiful and grand and all of this, but then you go up to the roof, and like, that's amazing. And we, of course, in true Pittsburgh fashion, it's rain or shine, so come prepared. In true Pittsburgh fashion, we experienced like 3 of the 4 seasons in one day. So, but we had fun, and I think everyone kind of was just like, they were along for the ride, and they were like, this is Pittsburgh, we're going to do it. But what I loved about it, and hopefully over my face right now, is going to be the final picture, because where we ended, there was rain and all of this stuff, and blue skies, and rain and blue skies. And then it ended with this gorgeous rainbow at, where were we? Was it
That was the balcony of the Frick
the
Building.
balcony of the Frick Building?
On the
Gorgeous view. So be sure to check it out, and we'll talk a little bit more about your upcoming tours. But it was just an overall amazing experience, and great way to just spend a Saturday afternoon, or whatever. So be sure to check it out.
It was fun having you, and I
Oh.
love giving those tours because I'm proud of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm a Pittsburgher,
Yep.
at Western Pennsylvania raised, and so to be able, I've traveled all over the country to write these books and to do programs, and I was just doing guided tours in Baltimore and Philadelphia in recent weeks. But coming back to Pittsburgh, my home, and seeing what a wonderful collection of historic, of landmark, and of modern skyscrapers too.
Mhm.
But we just have a skyline that's hard to beat.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I personally think it's the best. But with that, with traveling all over the country to really to collect information and to be able to tell these stories so eloquently and so um, just fun. I mean, it's really fun to read. You did release another book that I talked about it earlier, the High Rises book. It is, I think, one of my favorite new purchases. It is absolutely beautiful and just even, and again, it's all across the country. But one of my favorites here, again, my post-it note, but everyone knows the Cathedral of Learning, and I mean, it's insane. And he had Chris Heitha, I think, right?
That's his name. Yeah.
Chris Heitha was the photographer and flew a drone. Why don't you tell them a little bit
Sure.
about how they did the photos for this?
Well, so that book and the website that accompanies it, which is the High Rises collection, is a collaboration between Chris, who's he was an architecture student. He graduated with an architecture degree from Drexel. He's a YouTube sensation, and he's a digital artist. And he flies a drone up the side of each building and takes a picture at every floor, and then stitches them all together in Photoshop afterward in his studio, and then puts a cool background on it. And so what you wind up with is a high resolution, high detail picture of the part of the skyscraper that's usually the coolest,
Yep.
but that you can't really see from the sidewalk. So you get to see the details as these architects intended in super high detail. But also it's an unusual look. It looks kind of like Wes Anderson, because by
Right.
doing it that way, he's turned what would be a photograph has perspective, right? And it has angles and you can see the vanishing point. This looks like a flat two-dimensional drawing of the skyscraper, because by stitching all the photos together, he's sort of removed that perspective you would get from a normal photo.
Yeah, it has to be one of the coolest books. And again, keeping in line with a quick read, when you talk about digestible information, it's right here and then the pictures, right? So it's like, for me, I'm like, I love this. I get like a quick little snippet, and it's awesome. And it's just, these photos are beautiful, and you did such a great job with this book. By all means, please go and check it out.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, partly it has to do. I mean, Chris had done a series of images of abandoned row houses in Philadelphia that he would pass on his bike when he was going to class at Drexel, and he turned that into a book and a project. His next project he wanted to do was Philadelphia, and then beyond Philadelphia, Art Deco era skyscrapers. I had just done a book about the first skyscrapers all across America that didn't have any Art Deco in it, and that was deliberate, because once I started and I tried to decide which ones to pick,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if I start picking Art Deco, they're just going to take over this book. I want the first book to be about before the 20s,
Mm-hmm.
so in the 1880s, 1890s, 1900, et cetera. And so I had big plans for an Art Deco book, but I wondered what kind of images, because that's going to be important.
Yeah.
The first book is illustrated with antique vintage postcards,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see what the buildings look like. The second one about Art Deco, I was wondering. And then out of nowhere, out of the blue, I get a call from this guy who's just graduated at Drexel. And once I saw his art, he showed me some pictures that he had done already. And I said, absolutely, we have to work together.
So cool.
And so as a newspaper reporter, I write, maybe I don't talk very terse and focused, but hopefully so. But when I write, I'm trying to write stories that are little capsule stories, so you can flip around and enjoy. It's kind of like a little virtual tour. You can take
I love
the
it.
country.
And it's so beautiful in general. I mean, it just looks so good on a table too. So
That art is wonderful.
yeah, it's a really, really cool book. And that's when I was flipping through it, because I got this one on your tour at the end of the tour. He actually signed it for me. We're not going to talk about what he signed yet, because we'll talk about it at the end. But I had to have it. And Mark also does work at the Realtors Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh, and teaches the walking tours and architecture, skyscrapers. And his book is proudly displayed there at Ramp as well. And every time I walk past it, and I'm like, damn it, I don't have that yet. I'm gonna get it.
Well, that's special to me. I mentioned to you on the tour.
Yeah.
But my mom, Elaine, who gets a lot of credit for my enthusiasm for skyscrapers. When I was growing up in Newcastle, she worked at Realtors. She was the Realtors Educational Institute director. So she did all the continuing ed and the certification classes and ran all of that. So she loved Pittsburgh big time. So in the 80s, when I'm a kid in high school, and even before then, she was all about Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh, how beautiful it is, and we'd go a lot.
Yeah.
And so,
what a full circle moment, you know?
It's nice. It makes me happy to think that I'm still involved with Ramp.
Absolutely.
Like she was.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we're happy to have you. So, but I got some fun questions. I want to make sure that I get Ophelia's coffee in here too, right? It's like putting it all out there today. So trying to prep for this interview was fun, but challenging because I wanted to come. Normally I have, I've had a lender on here, an appraiser on here, the president of the Realtors Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh, my good friend Michelle Senko, David Dean, who's the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. So, I wanted something different. And I said, well, I already know all of the questions I'm going to ask a lender and an appraiser and all of that. And as much as I like architecture and all of that, it took me a couple of weeks to really frame where I wanted this to go. So I think I came up with some questions that could be fun. So I'm going to dig right in if that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah?
That's why we're here.
That's true. Okay, so first and foremost, if Pittsburgh lost every skyscraper except one, which building would you save and why?
Oh, wow. That's a bleak prospect, Dominic.
It is. I figured rip the Band-Aid off. We'll start dark first.
Yeah, it's an excellent question and priorities, right? So, boy, to me, there can only be one answer.
Oh.
So as I said, I've traveled all around the country. I've looked at every city's skyscrapers and focusing on the historic ones. And we have one that no other city can come close to that is perfectly unique and is actually, they started construction exactly 100 years ago. And that's the Cathedral of Learning.
Oh, yeah.
So the Cathedral of Learning, it took them a while to finish it.
Sure.
But it was a big project.
Like many real estate projects, I can assure you. Okay.
This is so. But the combination, it's by an architect named Charles Clodder, who did a lot of collegiate Gothic stuff for Ivy League schools. And the Chancellor of Pittsburgh, who came in the 20s, John Bowman, really wanted to make a statement that Pittsburgh was a city of high technology, and the University of Pittsburgh was,
at the forefront.
Exactly.
Right.
Well put. And so he wanted to make an educational skyscraper, and in fact, kind of canceled plans the university had already had underway to make an acropolis of Greek-style buildings up the hill.
Oh, interesting.
And said, put a halt on that. Instead, we're going to make a skyscraper. And it was in a style that was popular in the 20s, which was Deco-y Gothic.
Perfect.
And the interiors of that building, first of all, just the big commons room is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
But in addition, the nationality rooms, which are such a beautiful and inspiring story. The researcher, Ruth Crawford Mitchell, who came up with the project, was researching how many of the university's students were from immigrant families and was thinking about ways to better assimilate immigrants into the city and into the culture.
Yep.
And so came up with this wonderful idea that each nationality could sponsor, could design, pay for, and then enjoy a classroom that showed off their history of learning and literature and education. And I mean, that's such an admirable project. The rooms are beautiful. And I have fond memories of sitting in different ones of them.
Sure.
When I was a younger guy, but I still like seeing them today. And I mean, no one has a skyscraper like that. There is none across the country that is a big Gothic cathedral-y skyscraper.
Yep. That's so true. And I didn't realize you were going to go in that direction. And
it's not downtown.
It's not downtown, but we'll take it. It's part of Pittsburgh. Having gone to Duquesne University for my undergrad, you don't really know directions that well. I still don't know directions that well unless I have my maps open. But we always use that as a beacon. I won't, they call her Kathy, right? Like Kathy, the Cathedral of Learning. And, I could always make my way to Pitt's campus if I saw Kathy in the distance. And I think some people use that as their drunk compass, I think is what they called it, to find their way home. I was at Duquesne, so I didn't live over in that area, but once or twice maybe.
If you walk any visitor in the doors of that, I've walked hundreds
It looks
of
like
people
Hogwarts.
Exactly. People walk in and their heads explode.
Oh, for sure.
It's incredible.
It's fascinating. With that, which skyscraper in town do you think has the most fascinating story that maybe nobody knows?
Oh, wonderful question. So I've been trying to champion this story for several years now.
Okay.
And so maybe hopefully this podcast can help
Yes.
get the word out.
My 3 viewers will absolutely.
Oh, now. You've got at least, 10, 12?
10 or 12, yes, I think. He's given me some praise. No, I love it.
So the story I would say is this. So I mentioned before Daniel Burnham, who is the architect who designed the Flatiron Building in New York City. He was the man behind the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, like the big granddaddy of making skyscrapers. Hundreds of them across the country. Pittsburgh has more than anywhere else except Chicago, which is where he was, but we got more than New York City.
Right.
And the tallest one he ever designed, not the Flatiron Building, it's the Oliver Building right here in Pittsburgh, 25 stories tall.
Oh, wow.
It's a gorgeous building, and it's easily, I think it's got a hotel in it now. I take my tours to the top floor of it. Beautiful Beaux-Arts styled decorations. It's spectacular. It has a fun backstory. Henry Oliver's an immigrant kid from Ireland. His dad was an immigrant, so from an immigrant family too. And, went up into Carnegie Steel and so forth. But I just love that it's the tallest one. It's the biggest building that Daniel Burnham ever designed.
That's so crazy to think about.
And no one knows this, but I think we should brag about it.
Let's brag about it.
There we go.
You heard it here first. Well, maybe not first, I guess, but
Well, sure, first.
I guess, so leading into that, when we talk about developers and entrepreneurs and getting putting Pittsburgh on the map, what can today's developers and entrepreneurs learn from the people who built Pittsburgh skyscrapers?
Oh, I love that question.
Thank you.
Well, the groups that I talk to, I talk to developers, I talk to economic groups, I talk to real estate folks, and I talk to all different sorts who appreciate, in fact, banks and so forth too, that have skyscrapers they're proud of or want to learn about Pittsburgh skyscrapers. And to meet our old skyscrapers, what I want to do is I want to help build up the prestige of our city and our properties by leveraging both their architectural legacies and their entrepreneurial legacies, because each of these stories is also about someone who, took a risk, entrepreneurial, made a gamble and succeeded and helped build the economy of their city. So each building has a story behind it of someone who succeeded. Maybe they then lost it all in the Depression, but for a while. And I guess a bigger story or another lesson I'd like to say is a specific one, I mean to say. So a specific lesson I would say is a building built for Andrew Mellon's and Henry Clay Frick's Union Trust. So by Fred Osterling, a great Pittsburgh architect. The Union Trust building on Grant Street, that's beautiful, church-like, castle-looking, Flemish Gothic, flamboyant Gothic decorations. And on top of it are these two buildings that everyone thinks are little chapels or churches. In fact, my mom used to think they were churches. And the truth is that they're just decorative tops for the elevator shafts. So they're not really used for anything other than making it look pretty. And I think that's there's an intrinsic value to beauty.
Absolutely.
And so to make a property that they were just striving to make that property look spectacular, even if it cost extra and didn't really add utility. It added value by its design. And I wish more folks were guided by that principle.
So a lesson for new entrepreneurs and developers to consider. We actually ran into that building to dodge a torrential downpour during the.
That's right.
And so I will hopefully have some footage or pictures somewhere on the screen. But what's so cool about that building is I think it's a 10-story, I'm going to call it an atrium, but you look straight up and you can see every story essentially all the way up to the top. And when we were walking out, it's absolutely gorgeous. And when we were walking out, I think Diane was
My wife.
Yes, Mark's wife had mentioned that there's actually a theater in the Union Trust building.
That is right.
That's right.
Up
I
on
didn't
the
know
10th
that.
floor.
On the 10th floor.
There was sometimes they use it for events and for shows. And I did a talk for the History and Landmarks Foundation there. But it was Henry Clay Frick's theater. So if he wanted to have, the orchestra send some folks over or have an opera singer on stage and didn't want to mingle with the whole crowd, he can invite 200 and some close friends. So
As one would. That's what I do, actually. That's me and my theater on the 10th floor. But it's so cool. There's so much history behind these buildings. And that's why I was like, Mark, you've got to come on the show. We've got to talk about this. If you could travel back in time and stand on one Pittsburgh street corner during a specific year, where and when would it be?
I love that question.
Thank you. I came up with it myself.
That's a fantastic one. And it seems like it might be tricky, but I know the answer right away.
Okay. Lay it on me.
The year is 1901.
Okay.
And the street corner is the corner of 4th Avenue and Wood Street.
Okay.
So 4th Avenue is what they used to call the Wall Street of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So it had the stock exchange, it had banks all over the place, and all the banks were building skyscrapers and other companies that wanted to be near banks.
Sure.
So some of the earliest skyscrapers. So right there on that corner in 1901, there were 2 gorgeous skyscrapers getting built in a race to see who can finish first. And one of them is the Arrett Building, which is, I guess, my kind of favorite classic Pittsburgh skyscraper. Can people see this?
I wish I think so.
I put it on my phone.
I love
as
it.
my case.
Yeah.
But I love these hypnotic orange stripes.
Yeah.
So that one's going up, and across the street is the one we now call the Bank Tower.
Oh, okay.
People's Savings Bank, I believe it was called originally. But 2 really over ornate. One developer I talked to said that it felt like the architects were trying to out-architecture each other.
Well, it's the drama of it all, of course, that we love the most, right?
And on top of this is 1901, so skyscrapers are like only about a decade old as a technology. So these are some of the first ones going up in Pittsburgh. We don't even have trucks at that point. So there are horses bringing the steel to the site and steam cranes putting them up. And I'm trying to imagine what it must have been like and how much it must have blown people's minds.
Oh, for sure.
Who had spent their whole lives where the tallest building in Pittsburgh was 4 or 5 stories tall, or a church steeple. And now here comes 18-story buildings.
Especially putting it into perspective like that with not realizing trucks aren't there, right? Just bringing in horses, bringing all this stuff in. That is wild. Okay, I love that. So out of all of that then, which building or skyscraper do you think is the most underrated from an architectural perspective?
Okay. I think I have an answer for you here.
Okay.
And you mentioned it already.
Oh, did I? Okay.
When we started our tours, and I start all my tours in the Coppers building,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like a common thing I hear from the people that come on the tours, when they step into the lobby of the Coppers building and they go,
"Oh, I did that. And I've
they're
been
like,
on the tour already."
who knew this was, it's a lovely Art Deco interior. The building on the outside is really gorgeous too. And it's in the book. We've profiled it. So, but it's probably the most luxurious Art Deco interior of a building, a skyscraper in Pittsburgh. And that's the one because of the fact that it's a happy surprise when people step inside. No one walks in and says, "Yeah, I always knew." I mean, some people worked there.
Yeah, that's true.
But typically people say, "Oh, I've never been in here." So that's part of my mission, is get people to go inside.
It was beautiful. And I loved going inside all of the buildings. I was obsessed with taking photos of the elevator doors because they're so beautiful and ornate and all of that. So I'll throw some up here for you guys to see.
Yeah, that's all original. In Coppers, there were others as well downtown, but Coppers, that whole interior is either refurbished, restored, or original, including the light fixtures, which are these crazy space age looking things.
Yeah.
But it's building opened in 1929. And the doors, the big bronze doors, even the mailbox is cool.
Oh, I took pictures of the mailboxes too. I will put all of those up. I think I had like 200 photos on this tour, and we went to 4 buildings. So you do the math.
They're good ones.
What can I say? What building in Pittsburgh do you believe is most at risk of being underappreciated or even lost in the future? So kind of different from the last question, but which I guess makes you the most nervous that we might lose it?
Wow. Yeah, that's a concern for some of these buildings.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I'm all in favor of, and it's lovely to see restoration and adaptive reuse of these buildings. It's
Sure.
not cheap.
Oh,
It's expensive.
oh, absolutely.
And, we saw in one of the buildings we were traveling on, they had elevator issues. They'd had a water main break that knocked out most of the elevators. So we only had a couple to use, and that slowed us down a little bit. So, and those are not cheap things to fix.
Absolutely not.
So there's one right now that I think needs some TLC, and that is the bank tower.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've had, a variety of issues and recently, but it's not only recent, even back in the 50s. So this is a real, like I said before, that's the over-architectured building.
Sure.
And Alden and Harlow were the architects. They moved here from Boston and did tons of cool skyscrapers in Pittsburgh. They hired a sculptor, John Massey Rind, who's a Scottish guy who did the sculptures outside of the Carnegie Museum, like of Michelangelo and Galileo and stuff.
Oh, very
that guy.
cool. Okay.
So he did all the sculptural work for the building too. It's got this fantastic, wonderful vertigo-inducing stairwell that's, you look down and it's on the one side. If you look at it from the rear of the building, the stairwell tower is painted yellow.
Okay.
Right next to the bank tower,
Yeah.
painted mural. So wonderful building. The bits of it were falling off back in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
And so they started, the owners then basically chipped off anything that looked loose. So when you look at it now, it looks like it has sort of a random pixel pattern of terracotta stones on the outside. And it seems like that's original because it's been so long. But no, it was nicely uniform. And in the 50s, they started just ripping off anything that
I'm
looked
going to
loose.
have to look at it next time. Oh, wow.
So it's had a long history of challenges with the weather and with the interior and with the systems, but it's a beautiful building.
Yeah. Well, that's like us, right? We get chipped away at over time. We try to stand as tall as possible. Awesome. So you have studied skyscrapers all over America. What does Pittsburgh do better than almost any other city?
Oh, wow. Do you know what I would say is that Pittsburgh's preservationist community is the envy of a lot of other cities. So, I've heard this from the president of New York's Landmarks Commission, that the work that Arthur Ziegler pioneered here with the history and landmarks back in the 60s and is still going strong today, that we have a powerful preservationist network, both with city agencies, but also with that particular organization, History and Landmarks, that has a lot of respect and a lot of weight behind it. And so, I think a lot of other cities look to Pittsburgh as a model of having preserved some of our historic architecture and found new uses for it. And that's sort of back with Station Square or the Children's Museum as well.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about because as dynamic as Pittsburgh is, people would probably assume that something like that would be like New York City or Chicago or whatever, and to think about Pittsburgh as, has been looked at as a model of what to do, I think is really, really fascinating. Okay, so this one's kind of fun, but if money were no object, which historic Pittsburgh building would you personally redevelop? And what would you turn it into?
Okay. Well, it would be hard to beat what Bill Benter and the Benter Foundation have done with the other folks in the Benedum Trees building on 4th Avenue. I love that 4th Avenue, the Wall Street of Pittsburgh. And the Benedum Trees building was closely connected with the stock exchange. And so Bill Benter, a Pittsburgh guy, has put the Pittsburgh Media Hub in that building through his support and others in that condo. It's an office condo, but mainly with Bill Benter's support. First of all, he did the top of it is spectacular. The top floors, which are for his companies and his space, and the deck there has got a great view down on the Market Square. But the Media Hub, which he Bax is a place for organizations like CityCast Pittsburgh
Okay.
or Next Pittsburgh or the Qberg. Several
Mhm.
organizations have a co-working space and a podcast space. Actually, in that podcast space is where I recorded my walking tour of the Wall Street of Pittsburgh.
Oh, so fun.
People can do that at pittsburghwallstreet.com or find it on my website,
Yeah.
Skyscraper Stories. So I love that. He's restored the building and it's gorgeous. I mean, the other members of the condo association too have played a big role, but it's a beautiful building. So I wanted to give a nod to that
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's, one of those
Sure.
spending the money to make it look
Oh,
sharp.
Absolutely.
If I could do that,
Yeah.
I mean, it already has a good purpose, but my little personal favorite building with its little stripes is the Aerith building at
Oh,
4th and Wood.
Yeah.
And it has false balconies on it that are just there for looks.
Okay.
And then on the top, it has this wonderful cornice of screaming faces that is kind of fun. So I want to put, I want to make it my skyscraper.
Yeah.
And I want to turn those false balconies into real balconies so we can stand out and survey the scene.
I love that.
Issue a proclamation.
Well, we love a proclamation. Now, can those screaming faces be turned into me, my face? It doesn't have to be
All right,
screaming.
when money is no object and I buy that building,
Yes.
I'll
take one side of it. It doesn't even have to be the
that's
best side of it. Okay.
I mean, it is the Industrialist Hotel now, and that's a great property, and they're doing a great job with it.
Yeah.
And the Rebel Room is a fantastic.
I was just gonna
spot.
say the little restaurant down on the corner there is so good, and they did a really nice job with that.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
And that
in
little
general.
the lobby there.
Mhm. I
'cause it's a
know.
1901 skyscraper, and the lobby is just tiny and cozy
Mhm.
and gorgeous.
Yep.
And the marble carvings in there are just
No, it's insane.
and absolutely
Mhm.
it's my favorite. So I'll give them a good price.
Oh, I see.
And then I'll turn it into my personal lair.
There you
And then
go. The layer,
well,
Mark.
yeah, we can have all kinds of. We'll put incubators in there.
There you
How's
go.
that sound?
That's I love that. That's very true. I
I'll just
love
make
that.
my lair be the top couple
There it
stories,
is.
and then
I have screaming
incubators.
faces of myself on the south quadrant. I don't know. Okay, so 100 years from now, what building constructed in the last 25 years do you think Pittsburgh will still talk about, or maybe a future, Mark Hauser, right? Someone 100 years from now is going to be writing about these skyscrapers or these buildings within the last 25 years. Which one do you think is going to be talked about the most?
Ooh, well, I think the one that is going to really be a significant building in 100 years is, maybe it's a surprise, but I would say that the First National Bank building that was
The
built
new
in
tower?
in
Yeah.
the Lower Hill.
Yeah.
So First National Bank of West Greensville, Mercer County.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, First National Bank. We'll just stop with First
Yep.
National Bank.
There it is.
Everyone has a First National Bank. So that
I
one
know
is
there's
from
like
Mercer
8 of them
County.
in here.
Yeah, so good for them. They're
Yep.
taking over. But because that is what people will point to in 100 years and say, this is where we stitched the Hill District back into downtown Pittsburgh that had been cut off since the 60s when we built Crosstown Boulevard. That is the first major project, a footprint for further development that will knit that neighborhood back into the downtown proper. And so I think that'll be what people say.
I
They'll
actually
point to the stuff around it and say,
couldn't
"It
agree
started
more.
there."
Couldn't agree more. I actually had the pleasure of touring that building before it opened. I think it opened in November of 24, if I'm not mistaken. And we got a tour with Ramp and CCIM. We got a tour with the developer who was from Philly, or I guess is from Philly. And it was amazing. And I feel like it's the first, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first skyscraper to go up post-pandemic. And in some capacity, I can't remember the exact stat, but it was pretty staggering. And it's like what I call like class, like AAA office space. It's beautiful inside and really quite a spectacle. And that whole area around the old Mellon Arena site is all being redeveloped. And what Mark is talking about is kind of like bridging, for lack of better terms, bridging those two neighborhoods together. And you've got, so much redevelopment that's happening between the Hill and Uptown, and bringing and kind of connecting downtown and you see all of this construction that's happening in our city right now, especially in the Uptown corridor along 5th and Forbes, really connecting Oakland with downtown as well. And I couldn't agree more. I do think that building will most likely be the one that's talked about, because I think it was the first of its kind in its era to help bridge the gap between those neighborhoods. So I mean, I didn't think about that, but that is such a, when you say that, I'm like, oh, that's a no-brainer for sure. What a great, and it's such a cool building. And I love seeing new things get added to our skyline. So it's really cool. So you have spent years studying people who left their mark on city skylines. What do you hope your legacy in Pittsburgh will be?
Ooh,
I know, right? We're getting close to the end. Can you tell?
there's a deep question.
Yes.
Well, I suppose what I want my legacy to be is being a person who helped more folks here in Pittsburgh, but also across the country, to appreciate the beautiful legacy buildings that they have. And the way I think that happens the best and most effectively is by tying in people as well. And when I do programs, I've done them for SIOR and I've talked for BOMA and so forth. And I always want to stress that a building is a statement by a person. I mean, it's many people. And if you think about it, there's the architect, the engineers, the people that actually build it. And then behind it all is a person who wanted it built. And that person had an important connection with the city and presumably was proud of it. I mean, the skyscraper is built to make money. They're machines to make the land pay, as one early architect called them.
I love that. He said this on the tour, and as a commercial real estate agent, hearing that, I was like, that is such a cool, a cool saying. And I took away from the tour that exact that phrase. So I really loved that. Anyways, not to cut you off.
No, please. But that's what I think it comes down to is when we recognize that buildings are stories of people. At the bottom, the foundation of the building, is a person. And it's a person who is, proud of their city. And so when we learn the stories of the people, the buildings, I feel they mean more to us. Just
Absolutely.
Like in your neighborhood, you're going down the street, you look at the houses that the people inside.
Yep.
They mean something to you.
Yep. It's not just a product. It's about the people that it's behind. Totally. Couldn't agree more. I've enjoyed our time together. You're going to stick around for a little bit more. We've got a couple more segments I want to get to if you're cool with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
My pleasure.
So I have a
With
segment.
this coffee? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
This is great.
Thanks, Ophelia. So I have a segment that I like to call Brew, to be honest. So, we like a good play on words here. Essentially, I'm going to ask some questions, just not necessarily rapid fire, but not really anything having to do with skyscrapers, but more Pittsburgh based. So
Certainly.
What is your favorite local business here in Pittsburgh?
Oh, Mad Mex.
Oh, okay.
Mad Mex, without a question.
Okay.
Raised my kids on the wings there.
Oh, there you go.
They're
all right.
They're all grown and left town. Well, one's still in town, but they all, when they come back home, they want to go to Mad Mex and get wings.
Okay, love that. Yeah, I'm a wing connoisseur myself. He knows skyscrapers, but trust me, I know a wing. Love that. Okay, what about favorite coffee shop?
Ooh, okay. The one I go to most is near my house. It's in Sewickley, and it is Adesso Cafe.
Okay.
Frank, the proprietor there, pulls a great espresso.
All right.
And here in Pittsburgh,
I haven't tried that one yet.
Oh, you got to get out there, give it a whirl. He's wonderful. And then here in town, you mentioned it, how lovely the interior of the Union Trust.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Speckled A.
Ah, yes.
They pull a great espresso too, or other
Okay.
stuff, and then you can sort of saunter out and look up.
Yeah.
And check out that 10-story atrium.
There it is. And maybe sneak into the theater. All right, you've got 30 minutes to show off Pittsburgh to an out-of-towner. Where are you taking them?
There's not even a contest. Duquesne Incline.
There it is. Okay. We've got that. We've had that answer several times, but if you are not from Pittsburgh, every image of the city that you see, that quintessential skyline, that is what he's talking about. It's absolutely breathtaking view.
It's very funny too, because not too many cities have inclines anymore, and they don't usually use the term incline.
Yeah.
But
Funicular.
funicular,
Yes.
exactly. That's where the song comes from. Funiculi, funicula. They're singing a song about a funicular rail. Anyway, a railroad on a mountain. But in Los Angeles, it cracks me up. There's one called Angel's Flight, and it's in old downtown.
Okay.
And it goes one block, basically.
Oh.
These poor Los Angelinos, they're like, oh, I can't go up a hill. But anyway,
come to Pittsburgh,
it's so
babe.
adorable. It's so cute. And it's a little tourist attraction. And whenever I see it, I think,
yeah, that's
come
not
on.
well, I went to Johnstown
Theirs is cool.
years and years ago, and it was during the pandemic. We were all looking for things to do and went on their incline. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I do believe they brought in the Pittsburgh people to do that incline. I think I would have to
Could be.
maybe fact check me on that.
I went on one in Hungary, in Budapest. Diane and I went there a couple years ago, and the person, I think it's Drescher, Sam Drescher, and whoever it is.
I only know Fran Drescher, but that's a whole
Yeah,
other
yeah.
story. Sure.
So the architect, that was the first funicular in a city, and it went up
okay.
to the castle or on top of the hill
As
in
one would.
Budapest.
Sure.
And so it's arguably the oldest that got blown up in World War II. So it
Oh, I
hasn't
see.
been continuous.
Okay.
But that guy who was the engineer of that incline came to Pittsburgh and then did ours.
Oh, no way.
So it looks kind of like the Monongahela incline. It's
Oh,
that
okay.
three,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
triple decker
yeah.
style.
Oh, very cool.
So,
Love that.
but that's my answer. Sorry,
Okay.
that's not much of a lightning round. We just went on
That's
for
all
2
right.
minutes.
Well, you can't get me to shut up. So, and then he's excited about Pittsburgh and history. So, yeah, maybe we do talk too much. Never. What about? Do you have a pump up song before you go on a skyscraper tour? I know that's like a silly question, but is there anything that
No.
like is it Black and Yellow or like what is the? Do you have a jam?
I carry torch for Black and Yellow. We should play it more in the stadium.
We should.
I want that to be our exciting song.
We'll make some calls. Don't worry.
That should be the song, not the other one by the Sticks. But anyway, moving away from that, my pump up song, it could be the Sex Pistols, anything off the album.
Okay.
But what I should say is there was a Pittsburgh composer back in the 1890s.
Okay.
His name was Ethelbert Nevin,
Okay.
and he was a hugely popular songwriter before there was recorded music. So sheet music.
Okay.
He made a fortune on sheet music, died young, like a lot of musicians do,
Sure, okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But his music is the soundtrack to my walking tour of Wall Street of Pittsburgh.
Oh, no way.
So all the tunes of Ethelbert Nevin, these parlor tunes for the piano,
Okay.
and Narcissus is maybe his most famous composition. But
Okay.
no one's ever heard of him. So that's
No,
a deep cut.
Well, we've heard him here now, right? I think
Yeah.
that's so I'll have to listen to that when I'm on the site and think like that's your pump on
Yeah.
jam. All right, cool. What about dream celeb you'd like to have on a tour? That could be dead or alive. Doesn't even have to be a celebrity. Could be a one of the industrial, whatever. I'm not trying to lead you there, but who would you like to bring on your tour with you?
I know my answer.
Okay.
It is a New York guy who loved skyscrapers,
Okay.
and that would be George Gershwin,
Okay.
the composer.
Yeah.
So that's a good pump up tune. Listen to Rhapsody in Blue before I start.
Okay.
But he has a quote that I love, and I put it in the front of High Rises. He was writing about skyscrapers as a non-skyscraper guy, but just who liked them.
Mhm.
And he said skyscrapers are both a triumph of the machine and a tremendous emotional experience.
Sure.
And I think that's a great way to talk about skyscrapers.
I
They're
think so,
both
too.
they're both a mechanical thing,
Yeah.
engineering thing, but they're spiritual too.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I love that. And then I'm sure there are several, and I heard, so I don't know what his answer is going to be, but after taking the tour, I was like, oh, I'm going to ask this question. Only pick one though. Okay. Can you bust a myth about a Pittsburgh building or skyscraper? Like, what's the most, well, you pick, whatever. I don't want to lead you anywhere, but I know there were several, and we heard several of them on the tour, and some of them I thought, like, they were gospel. Like, I was like, oh, this is absolutely true. And he was like, nope, give me one.
All right, I'll give you one.
Okay.
And I told you also I love myth busting.
Yes.
So my
that's why
favorite-
I added this question in.
I
Yeah.
love it, and that's a great one. My main myth I like to bust is Pittsburgh doesn't have more bridges than any other city. Sorry, nowhere close. That's not true. We have lovely bridges. We're the city of bridges. We don't count the lights in Paris to say if Paris is the city of lights.
That's it.
So same thing. Anyway, but that's no building. My building one, and this is a little bit off color or whatever,
Okay,
but I'm
let's
going to
see.
go with it.
Let's go there.
So when I told you Frick built the Frick building to block out the sun from the Carnegie building, that is true.
Yes.
So Frick and Carnegie. Frick hated Carnegie. Carnegie didn't like Frick either. They lawsuits, etc. Bye-bye. I'll meet you in hell is the final words to Carnegie.
It's a great
wonderful
book, too.
story.
Yeah.
It is also said sometimes that Frick, when he built his Frick building, would stand in the bathroom of his little pied-à-terre apartment on the 18th, or what I guess now 19th floor, the floor below the top floor.
Mm-hmm.
The apartment is still preserved there. The bathroom is still preserved. But it's said that he would, relieve himself onto the roof of the Carnegie building. I have been in his bathroom. I didn't personally test this theory. The Carnegie building is gone now. It is replaced by the extension to Kaufman's. But the distance would have been unmanageable, even with a full six-pack drain. And also, by the time the Frick building opened, there was no Carnegie Steel anymore. It was now U.S. Steel, and Frick was one of the top officials in the company. So
he couldn't pee on the building even if he tried.
he could have. I mean, he couldn't have. You're right. I'm sorry. He couldn't if he tried.
Mm-hmm.
And also he wouldn't, because that's a weird look for your employees.
That's
if you're
true,
starting the day off, hi guys, just peeing on you, and now we'll start.
Surprise. That was actually, I remember, I think I told you after the tour, this past weekend that was the one thing that, I mean, several things stayed with me after the tour, but I think about that constantly back from 2020 or 2020. Yes, that literally is in my brain, which we don't have time to unpack. But I think about that actually probably more frequently than I should. But that is what, after you finished the last tour, I was like, I heard this on your first tour and all that, so that was one of my favorite things from that tour. So you have obviously been on top of, even before we started recording, I was telling you about the St. Paul skyscraper that I wanted to mention because of Borgado's Cafe, but and you had showed me videos of you being on the top of that building too, which is crazy. So you've been in a million and on top of a million buildings and skyscrapers and all of that.
Roughly,
yeah, give or take, right? It's, but
yes.
Is there a bucket list building or one building in Pittsburgh, or really anywhere, I guess anywhere, that you haven't been on top of or inside of that you would absolutely want to get in?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'd start with here in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I still somehow haven't managed to get to the part of the new PNC Tower that is like a multi-story kind of atrium far, far up in the sky. So,
okay.
The new PNC building.
The tower, yeah.
PNC 1 or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
so,
I think they call it tower. I think.
You're right,
yeah.
PNC Tower. So the space that's way up there that you can see, it's like a big glass wall for several stories.
Okay.
So I have not managed to go up there.
Okay. Any PNC folks or facility managers watching?
I'd love to.
Okay.
And worldwide, there's wonderful one in my first book in Buenos Aires, a 1920s skyscraper that looks like it's from the planet Naboo in the Star Wars movies.
Oh, man after my own heart. Big Star Wars fan over here.
So that one's terrific. My daughter actually did get to visit it. She sent me pictures, but it'd be fun to go there.
Okay.
And I'd love to go to Hong Kong and see their buildings, and naturally Dubai and Burj Khalifa.
Oh, you couldn't pay. I mean, beautiful, but you could not pay me to go to the top of that. Not a chance. No, I was holding on to the wall at the Coppers building, so I don't know, but that's the tallest building in the world, no?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you can take pictures and send it to me.
I've been told by people who have gone that the time to go is night. It's better at night than in the daytime because sand blows around and it's hard to see the horizon. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I've never been to
Sure.
Emirates, but I was told that at night is when it's really magical because you see all the lights twinkling below you.
Well, when you get there, send me a postcard or take a picture.
I will.
All right. So I always like to end, whenever you're out for coffee with a friend, you usually get like a little sweet treat, right? Something a little sweet to end the hangout session. So I like to call my final segment the sweet treat. So do you have anything, an uplifting story or something memorable that maybe you want to share with us as our sweet treat as we get ready to say goodbye?
Ooh. What do you think about Oh, how about the story about, I know which one.
Okay.
So,
If you don't bring it up, I'm going to. So, but
you know what I'm talking
Yep.
about. And that's my mom.
yes.
So my mom
yes.
no longer with us, God rest her, but she got me into appreciating Pittsburgh's great skyscrapers. And so when she also took me and my brothers to New York City
Mhm.
when we were teenagers, and we were walking down the streets of Manhattan. It's the first time I've ever seen New York City,
Sure.
and I'm bowled over and I'm walking around waiting for a pigeon to poop in my mouth and just tripping over, fire hydrants and
Yeah.
what have you, and running into signs. And my brothers are all laughing at me.
Sure.
And there's, oh, you look like a dork. Everyone can tell you're a tourist.
Yeah.
And my mom said, don't you tease him. Mark, you keep looking up.
I love it.
And so that's my motto.
I love
Keep
it.
looking up.
I love it.
As long as we keep looking up, first of all, we'll spot stuff that we maybe never appreciated
Sure.
before. But also, that's a good life motto.
Absolutely.
Look up. Don't look down at the things that are making you trip. Look up at the things that inspire you.
I love it. And I if he wasn't going to go there, I was, because that's what he actually ended up signing in my book. And I just hit the microphone, but I love it. And I think that that's such an inspiring motto for in several ways, right? Not just in real estate, not just in buildings and appreciation, but just in general. Just keep looking up and keep it moving, And so I think that's such a wonderful way to end today, with a nice nod to your mom and the inspiration behind it, and then also just a great sentiment. So, Mark, the final sip of the interview, which we have to be kitschy. What's next for Mark Hauser? I know the answer, but tell everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, we've
Yes.
got, thank you. I've got tours coming up July 18th and 19th, my downtown antique skyscraper rooftop views tours, which you can find on my website, skyscraperstories.com. So that's coming up.
And get those tickets. Sorry to interrupt. Get those tickets while you can, because the tour I was on, I think we got the last 2 tickets. It was completely sold out. So absolutely go now. I will probably run this in about a week or so. So it's going to be July by the time this airs.
Oh, yeah.
They will sell out. So please get your tickets when you can.
And if you can't get tickets for July, I will do one more tour in October. The weekend of the 3rd and 4th, I'm going to do one more skyscraper rooftop tour this year. I only do them a few weekends a year.
Yeah.
And it's, limited spaces. Most of them are spaces we go to are generally off limits to the public. So
Yeah.
this is your chance to get up on, for instance, the 29th floor balcony of the Coppers building.
Yep.
And so, that's, they do sell out. We've sold out most of the ones this past weekend.
See? Got them while they're hot.
Well, it just proves people love
That
Pittsburgh skyscrapers.
Absolutely. And you've got repeat people coming back that just enjoy what you have going on and really enjoy what you present, and they get so much out of it. All right. So in addition to the tours, you got a lot of other exciting things going on. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. I do a lot of private stuff too. So I do talks with various organizations, companies, and as I said, I work with people who want to leverage that architectural and entrepreneurial heritage
Sure.
to raise the prestige of their properties in their city. So I actually, after this podcast, I'm running over to a local printer who's done some interpretive panels for the windows of a building, the Times building, Pittsburgh's first skyscraper.
Yeah.
Is the Zamias Properties. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where they're
yeah.
based, and they run that. So I've been doing a couple of those too. I did that for
So cool.
another property on that street, the Standard Life building. So,
yeah.
there's a lot of different ways that I'm helping people to, push out the stories of
Sure.
why their buildings are special.
Yep.
And I think that's the basis of, of a lot of this adaptive reuse is
Mhm.
people are realizing how special their buildings are. And part of that is the stories of why they got there in the first place.
Totally.
And then people can, take my tour anytime for free, the PittsburghWallStreet.com tour. So that's always on the horizon for whoever
Yeah.
wants it.
No, it was so cool. You had sent me that link last week or the week before, and I kind of was like enthralled and really just kind of engrossed in all of that too, because you don't really think about that portion of Pittsburgh's history, even though you do, because it's kind of embedded in it. But until you're on the site and kind of, going through it, it's really fascinating. So,
Thanks.
yeah. Where can people find you? Well, that's Not at your house. Where online? Where online can people find you?
People can find me at, well, my handle is Skyscraper Stories, so on Instagram and so forth. But my website is skyscraperstories.com, and you can find, information about my tours, all the books, how to get in touch with me to do events for your group, and all of that fun stuff.
Awesome. On
Some
all the
writing.
socials and all that too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today on Hot Market Cold Brew. Hope everyone enjoyed listening to Mark, getting some of those answers, and really just taking a peek behind some of the fun history that is Pittsburgh Skyscraper. This is one of the most exciting, I think, times to be a Pittsburgher because we have so much rich history, diverse history, such great architecture. And then we also have so much happening in the city that is a launch pad for so much of what the future is going to be here. That what a great way to have someone like Mark on the show to kind of bridge that and blend those two things together. So Mark, thank you so much again for joining us. I can't wait to have you back next time, and go check out his walking tour July 18th and 19th. It's a great time. So thanks, Mark. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Dominic.
of
I really
course.
appreciate getting the chance to talk with
Yeah,
you and your
anytime.
listeners and viewers.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime. And that's a wrap on today's brew. Thank you all so much for choosing to spend your time with us here today. As always, I'm Dominic Janitis, the host here at Hot Market Cold Brew, the overly caffeinated real estate podcast that's always on the grind. Whether you're house hunting, deal chasing, or just looking for a little real estate tea, I hope today's episode gave you something bold to sip on and take to go. Until next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your favorite real estate hunting friend, and leave a review if you liked what I brewed. Catch you next time.